Hello everybody and welcome back to the Bad Bookers Wrestling Podcast. My name is Jack and today I'm bringing you something a little bit different, a little bit away from the norm that we do on this channel. I'm going to be reviewing Impact Wrestling's SLAMMIVERSARY, not a WWE pay-per-view, which I know, surprising. It was a late decision of mine to watch this and my god, I was impressed. What a night. There was not one bad match on the card. Absolutely incredible night. I would give it... I'll run down the matches in a minute, but I would give it 4.5 out of 5 overall. It was an incredible match. We had extreme matches. We had pure wrestling matches. Just some brutal spots in matches. It had everything. It had everything. We kicked off the show with a fatal four-way match with Johnny Impact, John Morrison, depending on where you're from, Phoenix from Lucha Underground. Obviously, Impact and Lucha Underground have got this little partnership going on. P.T. Williams, it was supposed to be Rich Swann, but he got injured, unfortunately, at a MLW show, I believe. He had quite a bad concussion, so hopefully he recovers from that. But P.T. Williams replaced him, and the Bone Soldier Ishimori from New Japan. And this was a fantastic match to open it. Everyone looked strong, like they should do in a multi-man match. Everyone got their finishes in. Like I said, they all looked strong. There was full-paced, full-on action throughout the match. It was about a 15-minute match, if I remember. But it ended with Johnny Impact getting the victory. The little end bit was kind of, I think everyone hit their finisher pretty much, and then Johnny Impact, he had this Starship Pain finisher, which is him bouncing his legs off the top rope and doing his bloody gymnastic twirls in the air and landing on Phoenix, who he pins to win. Obviously, Phoenix and Johnny Impact, they're both on Lucha Underground. So maybe that would go into somewhere where they have a feud because they're both on Lucha Underground, they're both on Impact. You know, you never know. But this is a fantastic match. There's some fantastic spots. I can't remember most of them because of just what happens throughout the card. But it was a great opening match. And like I said, Johnny Impact won. We then had a Knockouts division match. Obviously, if you don't know, Impact's women division is called Knockouts division, between Tessa Blanchard, in my opinion, one of the better women's wrestlers in the industry, in the entire wrestling industry, versus Ali, who I've not seen wrestle before. I'm not going to lie. Disclaimer, this was the first time I watched Impact since its TNA days, back in 2005, I believe. So I didn't know anything about storylines or anything like that. I just saw how stacked the cards is. I saw who was going to be on there, and I thought, yeah, I'll watch this. And like I said, I was impressed. Blanchard versus Ali. It was a good, hard-hitting match, and there was two women's division matches, and if WWE were watching, this is how a women's match should be held. It was hard hitting. It was flowed very well. They didn't hold back, and it ended up with Tessa Blanchard hitting her hammerlock DDT. And I've got it written down here. There was a mad Hurricane Rana. I don't know if it was a slight botch, but Tessa Blanchard hit it on Ali, and it looked like Ali literally landed right on top of her head. It just looked brutal. I don't know if it was meant to happen or it was a little bit of botch, but it just looked brutal, and it kind of added to the match. It didn't affect the match in any way. It added to it. But yeah, Blanchard won. If you haven't seen Tessa Blanchard before, go and watch her work. She's a very, very, very good wrestler in my opinion. And you could think of dream matches between her and, I think even Charlotte Flair came out and said, if there's one person on this planet she wants to wrestle, it would be Tessa Blanchard. So hopefully soon we can see that, because that would be one hell of a match. Next up, we had a House of Hardcore match, I believe it was called, between Eddie Edwards and Mr. Tommy Dreamer himself, Mr. ECW. I think Tommy Dreamer has a promotion. I think it's called the House of Hardcore. So I think that's why they called it this. This was very heavily storyline based. Basically, Eddie Edwards was feuding with Sam Callahan, who was also wrestling later on in the show, and they were feuding. And Tommy Dreamer seemed to be Eddie Edwards' mentor, kind of father figure, I guess you could say. Eddie Edwards then turned on Dreamer, and Dreamer just snapped and said, right, we're going to have this House of Hardcore match and I'm going to beat the living shit out of you, basically. Decent hardcore match. It didn't quite live up to the previous two matches, but it was alright. It was decent hardcore match, like I said. There were staple guns involved, kendo sticks. It ended quite randomly and quite abrupt, in my opinion. Tommy Dreamer was about to... He had a table set up, he just put lighter fluid on, he was about to light it, and Eddie Edwards hit a DDT on him, and that was it. It was over. Tommy Dreamer didn't shed any blood or anything like that. Eddie Edwards was busted open through a staple gun to the forehead. But, yeah, it kind of just ended abruptly, which was a bit of a shame, but it was still a decent match. And afterwards, Eddie Edwards started crying. It looked like he wanted forgiveness from Dreamer. And Dreamer they offered his hand out, they shook hands, but then he didn't let go, and Dreamer said to him, probably don't try that shit again, or anything like that. And then he handed Eddie Edwards a kendo stick. I saw it as kind of like a passing of a torch, if you will. Just passing over a kendo stick, like, it's yours now, mate. And then Dreamer walks off. So, like I said, decent match, ended abruptly, which is a bit of a shame, but what can you do? We then had Matt Sydal versus Brian Cage for the X Division title. Like, the X Division, it's mainly cruiserweights, but the big lads can also go for it. So the X Division, the first holder was AJ Styles. It's because back then he was a bit of a cruiserweight. But it has been held by Samoa Joe before, and this time Sydal had it. If you don't know who Matt Sydal is, he was Evan Bourne in WWE, if you remember him. He's completely different look. He's got a beard, he's got long hair, whereas in WWE he was clean shaven, short hair, and he just looked like kind of a kid kind of thing. But now he's got long hair, beard, looks completely different. But he lost his X Division title to Brian Cage, who is just one big, pure, muscly man. He is mad how muscly he is. But decent match again. I've put him on notes. Cage is a monster. You wouldn't want to meet him down a dark alley. He is just muscle. That's all he is pure muscle. The finish of the match was Sydal. He went for his shooting star press finisher, and he kind of just Cage put his boot up, but it looked like Sydal missed the boot and just landed face first into the canvas, and it kind of looked like it knocked him out. I couldn't tell if it was a botch or anything like that. My first instincts was that was a weird botch, Jesus Christ, but they kind of played it off quite well and played it like it was meant to happen. So fair play to them. Cage then hit Sydal with what he calls the drill claw. I can't remember how it went. I do apologise, but he then won. If you don't, just get two pictures off of Matt Sydal and Brian Cage. Two completely different physiques. Let's say that. Next up, we had, for the Knockouts Women's Championship, we had Madison versus Su Yung. This match was quite overwhelming for me because, like I said, I don't know much about storyline, and this match seems quite heavily based on storyline. And Su Yung is kind of like a mad, like, I don't know how to describe her. She's just a mad woman. She's got all this weird face paint on. She had what she calls her bridesmaids with her, and it was a fairly short match. It was only about 10 minutes long, but I definitely preferred the Tessa Blanchard versus Ali match. This, like I said, it was a good match, but it was just a little bit overwhelming for people like me who haven't watched Impact in a while. But yeah, Su Yung, she was the champion. She retained her title with a mandible claw, and then afterwards put Madison in this casket that she had. So weird. She's just really crazy, crazy woman. Yeah, like I said, a bit overwhelming, but still a good match. Next up, we had 2 matches in a row which were just brutal and awesome. So good. It was for the tag team titles next. We had LAX with Conan versus the OGs versus the OGs with King in a street fight. And there was quite minimal wrestling, but it didn't matter. There was... I never realised this, but I'm a sucker for a bin lid to the head. There was loads of them in this match. Bin lid to the head. There was tables broken. There was chairs thrown. There was a ladder involved. There was... it was just non-stop action. It was... You could say it was total non-stop action. Yeah, topical. But yeah, fantastic. Like what I put on the notes, fantastic match. Felt like a full-on brawl. It just felt awesome to watch. Proper extreme and just really hardcore. Proper awesome. LAX retained the titles after Conan chucked... I don't know the names. I know Hernandez. I think that was his name. From the OGs. But I don't know any of the other guys' names, unfortunately. But Conan, who's their manager, chucked in a bag. And I was like, why is he chucked in a bag? It's a bit weird. Thumbtacks. The guy poured the thumbtacks onto the floor. The OG guy turned around. This guy chucked thumbtacks in his eye, body slam on the thumbtacks, and then jumped up on the top rope. Frog splash. 1, 2, 3. Brilliant way to end like thumbtacks. I haven't seen thumbtacks in ages. I honestly haven't seen thumbtacks in ages, and it was really nice to see. But afterwards, the OGs attacked LAX from behind, and then took the tag belts and spray painted OG on them. You know, a bit like how NWO used to spray paint the NWO logo onto the World Heavyweight Championship. That's what they did, but it wasn't theirs. So, naughty boys. Fantastic match. At this time, that was my match of the night because it was proper good. But then we had Sam Callahan versus Pentagon Jr. and this match was brutal. There was spikes. Pentagon at one point had a spike to Callahan's head, and he was just digging it in with a baseball bat, which Callahan brought to the ring. It was... I put on Twitter, it just looked like we were just watching attempted murder. It was just brutal. If you didn't know, this was a hair versus mask match, so if Pentagon lost, he would have to reveal his face as he was a luchador, but if Callahan lost, he would have to shave his head, which he did. Callahan lost. I put here, absolutely brutal, spikes used. There was a package pile driver onto 4 chairs which were set up from Pentagon to Callahan, and then he kicked out. May I add that Callahan is very, he spits everywhere. It looked like he had rabies, foaming from the mouth, and that really added to this match. It was just good little... I don't know if he meant it, but it was just a good touch, how he's just spitting everywhere, kind of dribbling everywhere. Looked like a proper madman. But yeah, Pentagon won with the package pile driver, just the normal one, not onto the chairs. Callahan kicked out of that one, don't know how. Absolutely mad. And then, before that, Pentagon, he has this thing where he breaks their arm, bends it back and breaks their arm. We had some dust thrown in his eye. He then thought the ref was Callahan, so we did it to the ref. And the ref sold it better than most wrestlers would, I reckon. He sold that bitch. It's crazy. Honestly did. Insane. Another ref came out. Pentagon then packaged pile driver. He won the match and he shaved Callahan's head off. While Callahan was being held down by Phoenix. Phoenix and Pentagon Jr. are brothers, I believe. They're related in some way. I think it's brothers. But yeah, that was my match of the night. Callahan versus Pentagon Jr. It was absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. I'm not doing it justice by just talking about it. It was just, incredible. Incredible match. Then we had our main event for the Impact Heavyweight Championship between Moose, the challenger, and Austin Aries, the current holder. And this was a decent match. I said on Twitter that it would be quite hard to follow everything that's happened because everything has just been so good. But this was a decent match. It wasn't the best match on the night, but it had its moments. Austin Aries got thrown into the crowd by Moose, taken out about 5 guys. They were probably all Impact developmental guys, but it was just like a good touch. It was a good touch. And they made Moose look really strong with Austin Aries piling 3 brainbusters on him and retained. And you might think, that seems like a bit of a downer on the night. It was a good match. It went on for about 25 minutes. Those decent spots. Moose looked really, really strong in this match. Austin Aries' selling is great. Austin Aries is money. And it just reminds you how WWE treated him, which he could have been a top player in WWE. But these things happen, and Impact have now got him, and he's just showing how much money he is worth. But yeah, that was Slammiversary, and what a night. Especially as I decided like an hour before it started that I was going to get it and watch it, and I was not disappointed. It certainly opened my eyes to Impact a lot more. Like I said, I haven't watched it since 2005-ish, but I might try and catch some more of it. It was a very good evening, and I would love to see more of Austin Aries. Obviously, we've seen quite a lot of him. Moose, I've only seen a few matches of him, and I loved him, and he's very over with the crowd wherever he goes. Pentagon Jr., obviously, he works with New Japan, works with Lucha, he does his Impact, so he's kind of everywhere. Very good wrestler. Who else was I impressed with? Tessa Blanchard, obviously, she, very good wrestler, like I said, one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. And Phoenix, Pentagon Jr.'s brother, was very good in the Fatal 4-Way, and I would like to see more of him as well. But everyone pulled off a blinder tonight, and like I said, Impact have done a stellar job in producing a 3-hour show where I enjoyed all 3 hours, and I haven't had that in a while. Not since maybe WrestleMania, but I was drunk. I can't remember. I honestly can't remember a pay-per-view where I enjoyed throughout and loved all of it. If you can, go watch some highlights. Go watch the whole show, because you will not be disappointed. Anyway, I shall love you and leave you. I've been Jack, like I said. Follow us on the Twitter machine at BadBookersWP. We're like 1 or 2 followers away from 1,000. So go and follow us on there. It'd be much appreciated. Go watch Slammiversary. Watch the highlights. Watch anything like I said. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video. Share it between all your friends. All that if you want. We're going to be I'm going to be talking about it a bit more on the podcast, which is going to happen this week. And our podcast is out on iTunes and SoundCloud. If you want to go watch it, listen to it even. I think that's everything done. Yeah, I think that's everything done. Impact Wrestling is on a rise again. I'm definitely going to try and catch a bit more of it, and I would suggest everyone to go watch it, because they're certainly doing some fantastic stuff over there. But like I said, I've been Jack. Please like, please subscribe, and I shall see you tomorrow night for Monday Night Raw, where the weekly show reviews, they're coming back with a bang. Thank you, and goodbye.